Hey Flowers, Violet here, and welcome back to another spooky haunting tutorial for this Halloween season. I am really excited to share with you the mummy corkscrew stitch. A couple of weeks ago I showed you the tutorial for the straight version of this stitch, but today I'm going to be showing you the corkscrew version where we use kind of that same technique of wrapping the strings underneath the side strands for every other stitch.
So without further ado, let's get into how to make the twisted mummy stitch. Now, since this is a corkscrew stitch with just a little bit of a twist, if you will, we're just going to be starting it out like a standard corkscrew. However, the lengths are a little bit different, so I'm going to post a diagram on the screen so you can check that out. You can see here that I have my primary strands in brown, and then I'm going to be wrapping the white strands. So those are actually going to be a little bit longer than the middle strands. So if you need to, you can pause that part of the video and make sure you cut your strings all to length and such. But we're just going to start by evening out both sides of the white and both sides of that darker brown. Now, for the two strings that are going to be in the middle, you aren't really going to see those quite as much because of the wrapping effect here. So you can use whatever color you want for the center of that. I just chose to use tan just to kind of keep with the mummy theme. But there, I've already evened out the white. Now I'm going to even out the brown. So to do that, I'm just grabbing both ends of that dark brown and then pulling them until they are even on both sides. And then I'm kind of holding it with my thumb and my pointer finger here. And this is the midpoint. So this is actually where we're going to be working from. And I'll just start by making the dark brown, which is my primary string, lay vertically on the strands. And then if you remember from the diagram, we had that white string going kind of diagonally with those, and we want that one to be diagonal because it's going to be we want this one to be what we're wrapping with, and we want that to be the longer strand. So you can see how I have them held in my hand. The two middle strings are going horizontal, then my dark brown is the primary, and then I have that white one crossed diagonally. So you can start this whichever way you feel most comfortable, but for me, I'm going to start this like so, just so you can see that I have that white string going diagonally on top of those. So from here, I'm going to place my thumb down and try to hold all of these strings in place. And now I'm ready to actually start it. I'm going to begin with the dark brown on top, and I need to fold it down and over the three side strings. And it's going to go in between the white strand over here on the bottom and this other dark brown. And I'll use my ring finger to hold that in place. And then this other dark brown needs to fold up in between the other white and the other side of the dark brown, like so. Now I'm ready to weave my side strings, and I'm going to start with the white strand on the right. And this one needs to cross over the brown loop on the right and under the brown loop on the left. And now just pull that all the way through, like so. Next, we're going to weave we're going to pull from the left-hand side now. So that's going to be one of my tan strings. And this one needs to cross over the dark brown loop on the left and go under the dark brown loop on the right. So over the one closest to it and underneath the one which is over here. And we'll pull that one through. Next, we're going to move on to a string from the right side. So you'll notice we're alternating which sides we're weaving as we go. Over the first loop and underneath the second. Over this, under this one here. Pull it through. Then we pull a string from the left over the first loop closest to it and under the loop farther away. And then for this loop here, over this one, under that one. And then we'll finish off with this last white strand, and if you need to, you can kind of move your strings around to give yourself a little bit more space. But we'll gather this white string here, and we will cross over the brown loop on the left and under the dark brown loop on the right, just like this. And we'll pull this one all of the way through as well. So all we've done so far is we've started the corkscrew stitch. I'm going to go ahead and pull this tight. I'll hold on to both of the long strings and pull those, then the horizontal, then the main strings, and you just kind of alternate pulling all of the strands evenly until it's tight. And now if you want to just double check and make sure that your start is correct for this, I'll flip it over and I'll show you what the back side looks like. And now if you'd like, this would be a good point. If you want to, you can add a key ring. I'll show you how to do that now. This one is actually kind of like more like a key hook, but it's pretty simple. You can either do this now or you can do this at the end. I typically do it at the end, but just so I can make sure I show you guys this step early on, we'll just open this up and clip it right on that first stitch like so. And you'll see now we have our hook on there. From here, we can go ahead and do our corkscrew stitch. And with this, we always have to make our primary strings go diagonally. So this one's gonna cross in between the tan and the dark brown, like right here in this kind of like bottom left. And then this one's going to fold in between this tan and this dark brown. So you'll see it's going diagonally up into the top right, like so. And now you can see I have 2 diagonal loops. And the process is the same for the side string. So we always need to weave over the loop closest to it and under the one which is farthest away, and we pull it through. And then we pull from the left. And you'll notice that right now I have to weave one of my white strands. So the white string is kind of moving out of that edge position. And so for this, we are not going to do the mummy variation just yet. But I will make a little loop and then feed the slack through, because this just helps go a little bit faster when you're weaving really long strings. And then we'll grab this tan and we'll just continue to weave all of our side strings all the way down to form a standard corkscrew stitch. And then I'll gather a tan from the left-hand side, and this one needs to go over the dark brown on the left and under brown on the right. And then we'll gather this white one over the dark brown loop on the right and under the dark brown loop on the left. And then we can finish off with the last tan over and under. And we'll pull it tightly just the same way as we did before. So I like to pull the horizontal strings together, then pull the main string or the vertical string, and just kind of alternate pulling each of those until it's nice and snug. Okay, so now you'll notice that the white string is going to pass to the edge position for this stitch, and this is where we're going to do a mummy variation. So I formed my 2 loops the same way I did as before, and now I'm bringing the white strand over and under, and then the tan, and we'll do this all the way down. Just the same exact thing that we did before with making the 2 diagonal loops and then weaving our side strings over and under those. So I'm gonna go a little bit faster just for this one so I can get to that mummy part for you. But like I mentioned, now our white string is in that edge position. I have the 2 white strings on the outside. And so this is your sign that it's time to do a mummy stitch variation on it. So I'm not going to pull this completely tightly. I'm actually going to leave it a little bit loose, just like that. And now what I can do is, to get the mummy variation, I'm going to bring this white string behind the 2 horizontal strings here. And then it needs to go into this position. So we're going to switch positions of these white strings. So I'll find the end of this white string and I'll pass over this brown loop on the right and under the dark brown loop on the left. So you'll see I'm passing behind these 2 horizontal strings, and then I'm just going in the same place that the other white string is at. And I'll pull this all the way through and work out any kinks if the strings kind of twist on you. And now I need to move, I can't have 2 strings in the same place, so I need to move this other white string to this bottom position. So I'll find the end of this white string and I'm going to pass it over the brown on the left and under the brown loop on the right. So exactly where the other strand was before. And now I can pull this tightly together. So I'll pull all those horizontal strings, then pull those main, pull the horizontal strings and the mains, and just making sure it's all nice and tight. And you'll see that now, because I've done this and I've switched the positions of my white strings, the strings are kind of wrapping along the side. And that is the mummy stitch variation that we're going for. So I'm going to show you this one more time. And we're going to be doing that variation every other stitch, because you'll see when I do this next stitch, the white moves out of that edge position. It's no longer on the outside of my horizontal strings. So if you were to do the variation here, you would actually get an alternating effect because your brown is in that outside position. So you can do that. Like you might, it's a cool effect. I've done it with some other combination stitches I've done. But I want this to be kind of more cohesive and all look the same. I want the same color to be wrapped, so I'm going to do it every other stitch. And here I just want to show you from a different angle, just in case it helps a little bit. So forming my 2 loops diagonally, just as before with the corkscrew stitch. And now I'm going to weave the side strands over and under those loops. So like I said, I like to just fold a piece and then pull the slack through because it helps to go a little bit faster instead of like spending a bunch of time trying to find the end of the string. Just a little bonus tip if you want to get faster at this. But yeah, so then I'll tuck this in and then pull it through. And just as before, remember we don't pull this completely tight just yet. We actually want to leave leave it a little bit loose. My goodness, if I could speak. And now I'm going to pass this white string here underneath the 2 horizontal strands. So it needs to go behind. And we're going to insert it up here on the top, right where this other this other white strand was. And now from here, I need to move the position of the other white string. This one's going to replace that bottom white. So for this, we can go ahead and find the end of it. And then we will weave over the brown loop on the left and under the brown on the right. And pull that through. Now, just as before, if there are any twists or kinks in the string, you can go ahead and even those out. Make sure it's nice and straight. And then we'll pull it all tightly together. And you can kind of see the mummy effect actually already taking place because you can see those strings are crossing horizontally along the side of it. And after a couple minutes of doing that, you should have something looks like this, where those horizontal strings are wrapping along the sides of the body and twisting. So this is kind of a fun new keychain if you'd like to try it out. But I will show you how to finish this. So I have a little bit of extra slack on some of these strings, and I'm going to make a finishing knot with them. So rather than gathering like a new string and doing this, I'm just going to use the slack that I have here. So with this dark brown string to finish it, I'll make a loop with this dark brown string on top. I'll make a loop here and I'll just hold that with my finger. And then I'll make a second loop on the bottom like this. So you can think of it as like we're making a figure 8. And then we're going to pinch that center of the 8 against the body of the lanyard. And now with this extra slack that I have in my hand, I'm going to wrap it around all of the loose ends here. But I want to make sure that I still leave those 2 loops. So let me even out this little twist here. But we'll go around. And I like to go around like 3 or 4 times. Sometimes you overlap them. It's really up to you how much or how big you want this finishing knot to be. But it just provides a little bit cleaner of a finish as opposed to like your standard knot. And once you've gone around a few times, I think I went around like 6 times for this one, we'll take this end slack and feed it through the bottom loop. So the top loop is closer to the body of the lanyard. The bottom loop is closer to the slack over here. So we'll take this and feed it through this bottom loop there. And just pull it all through. And now the top loop, we can pull up on that. And this is going to pull the bottom loop tightly around the rest of our slack. And then from here, I'm just going to trim it off. And there you have it. That is how you make the corkscrew mummy stitch. Super fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this spooky little tutorial. Be sure to like and subscribe and comment down below what you'd like to see from me next. Thanks so much. Keep blooming, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.